Hi, we are getting ready to start our assignment on linear perspective. We're going to stick to 1-point linear perspective. I know some of you in Drawing 2 may have done this, but we'll think of it as a refresher for you. When we get to the atmospheric perspective, it'll include a little bit of information about 2-point perspective that you'll be dealing with your pieces for that. We will go over that. But just to see what everybody knows and try to teach people that haven't ever done perspective, we're all going to be dealing with 1 point. So the idea of linear perspective. Parallel lines recede to a central vanishing point, meaning that if you're looking at something and you see the edge of a good example would be walk out into the road, I guess, and stand in the middle of the road and look down a long road. What happens? It looks like it comes together at a certain point. That would be considered the vanishing point, right? It's actually happening with any of the lines if we're dealing with perspective. So I'm looking at a table I'm sitting at, and I'm standing at one end looking down it. If I put the ruler on either side and kept extending it out, what would happen is the left and right side would eventually look like they came together, right, as we're dealing with it. So that's the concept, is that we're going to deal with receding lines coming together at a central vanishing point. That means 1 point, 1-point perspective. That's the idea of the central vanishing point. When you start the drawing, again, most of this is going to be in still images in the assignment. So have a still image. I'll try to explain what I did. Go down to the next still image, read what's happening there, and try to proceed that way with it. It's not going to be a video where I can show the whole concept at one time, so we're going to go through it step by step with still images as we go through this after this video here. But when I start, I'm an 18 by 24 inch paper that drawing or sketch paper so that you can erase and not tear it like newsprint would. Your pencils, your graphite pencils, you need your erasers again, your pencil sharpener. Ruler becomes really important. You may want a yardstick as well, but a ruler is really what I want. If I need something longer, get that yardstick out. You should have one of those. And then there's pencil sharpener and sandpaper to help keep everything sharp when you deal with it. You can also take images. The assignment is going to say create an interior space. You can use an interior space that exists and look at it and draw it and then alter things to make it more interesting, add more furniture into it. Or you can just start from a totally created point of view. To make it where I can show you what's going on, I decided I was going to work from some photographs here. So I took photographs of my kitchen and I think my dining room, and I'll have those uploaded with some lines on them. Basically, I'm just trying to show you how those within that image, the central vanishing point is there and the receding lines do go to it. So I just want to prove to you by saying that photograph is like what you're trying to do when you're viewing it, right? You're thinking of it as a screen or a plane in front of you. Our tendencies when we do this is to get confused by the fact that our head swivels around. We change position. Many times at school we draw in the hallways, and y'all would be having a ruler or a yardstick and you'd be projecting it along lines and trying to find those central vanishing points, and you keep saying, well, it's different places. I said, well, yeah, it's because we're acting more like a movie camera than a still photograph. I mean, we swivel our heads, we shift our position, so it's always sort of changing that way. So sometimes taking a photograph is going to help you to at least understand it. When you finally submit this drawing, you're going to be laying your ruler on the drawing to the side and making sure it's in the image when you photograph it, so that you show me this 18 by 24. That prevents you from taking a little photograph and then doing this tracing of it and submitting that. That won't help you with this, and I want you to really go through the process of learning how to do it. You'll get to use the ruler. Most of the drawings of this, since you're creating architectural elements, they tend to be more square, straight edges, right? You can change some of it as you work on it, but I mean, in terms of curving lines, if it's some piece of furniture that's in it that needs that. But most of the time you're dealing with the idea of straight edges, so you're drawing with the ruler a lot. So when I get to this paper, the first thing I do is figure out where my back wall was, how big that back wall is going to be. In the drawings I'm showing you, I probably have a back wall that is half the width of the paper. I'm drawing horizontal in most cases like this. That'd have to be a really narrow room for you to want to switch and work to verticals, but it's not saying you couldn't do that, but look at what you want to create as you're dealing with that. and I don't want to get too far back. I don't want to look like it's 100 miles away from me, right? So say no smaller. That back wall is going to be no smaller than a third of the paper. I am dealing with a half. So when you look at mine, it's going to be right around the half. In a house, that would be probably fit in terms of being able to show what you need to draw pretty well. I'm going to kind of mark some of the lines on those photographs I'm submitting to show you as well, so you can understand. Well, that photograph shows you a wall, that the back wall is half of what the image is that you're looking at there, right? Left and right. I'm expecting to see more floor with these than ceiling. Draw them from the standpoint that you are standing most of the time. If you're sitting, it comes down, your eye level comes down a little bit, right? So the central vanishing point comes down along that eye level. So that's one of the things we're going to say when you're trying to figure that out. If you're looking at a space, walk back to where you're looking on that middle of the back wall, and where your eyes would hit there if you walked up and ran right into it, right? Because that would be level with the floor. So every time we talk about eye level, we're not talking about a diagonal look. You're not looking down. You're not looking up. You're looking straight out, and so it's got to be the distance from your eyes to the floor on that back wall when you're dealing with it, right? So I'm going to be dealing with the idea of the central vanishing point. You'll see the receding lines for the edge of cabinets, the bottom of either wall, the top of either wall, going back to that point. And then anything else that's kind of has a receding edge would go back to that. You're going to put a lot of those in. You don't have to put every single receding line all the way back to central vanishing point, but enough of them, again, the drawings will help you see that, enough of them that I can see that you're dealing with that. And then you're going to be dealing with the idea of horizontal and vertical lines the rest of the time. The top of the wall, the back, the bottom of the wall where it hits where the floor hits the wall. As I move this forward, it'd be maybe that on mine, since I'm doing the kitchen, top of the sink, maybe where the stove would be over here, where something else would have a flat surface there. Those would all be considered your horizontals as you're moving back, right? So they have to remain parallel to each other. And then of course verticals will be edge of a corner of a wall, corner of a sink, a window that might be it that you're drawing, it's in there. The edge of my stove, again, the vertical part of my stove, or the refrigerator over here. So, so make sure that those are remaining parallel and vertical. Do that not just by eye, measure, up one side the same point, up the other side, and then when you connect those lines, they'll be parallel to the bottom and parallel to the sides as well as you do it the other way for verticals. So maintain that. So as you go through this, make sure that you're going to leave your imaginary lines, but that's why you should be doing those with the HB pencil. Do them real light so pressure comes into play. I don't need to see a strong central vanishing point marked in there that's like a target, or the imaginary lines where they are just that, imaginary, where they don't really continue through there on the drawing. We want to see them though, but done real lightly, so that the lines are going to be stronger. You're going to be using the 4B and things like that with the pencil. And these can have a little shading if you want to shade with the pencil to see if you decide you want to put a shadow. And if you're actually looking in a space, you're going to see that. If you don't, that's okay too. But if you decide you want to do a little of that, you can. But mostly it's going to be about line, right? Those are going to be stronger. So the things that do exist, draw in heavier after you've figured out their receding, how they recede to that central vanishing point as you deal with it. So I want you to look through the text, the image, the photographs I'm putting in, then the text that refers to that photograph. Next image, usually it's going to be a continuation of the drawing as it develops, right? But read through all those and make sure you kind of feel comfortable with it. If you don't, contact me in notifications, and then we'll try to clarify things for you. You can always email me and send me an image that's in progress if you want me to, check before you get too far along with it to see how you've done. So, but when you finally do the submission, you're send your drawing in. Once you take that ruler, place it on the outside of the image, so it's sitting there at the edge. So when you take your photograph, I'm going to know that you're dealing with an 18 by 24, not taking a photograph and then just doing a small little drawing of it with a tracing paper and sending that in. So that's going to prove to me that that you were drawing it. Even if you were looking at the photograph, I'm okay with that. And to make sure you get over this paper. So we're still having a little problem where people are taking things at an angle, so it distorts your image when I'm trying to grade it. I can't really tell if you've done everything. This will be the worst if you do it that way, because I'll probably be marking things wrong. So make sure you get on top of it, get your camera parallel to the paper. You may have to set it on the ground so you can get over it, and then frame it in, get close to it, or if you need to, you'll learn a little bit about editing on hopefully you're using a smartphone or something that's easy to edit, where you definitely can edit that part of it, edit the framing, change the frame so I don't see much extraneous material. I'm seeing here things outside of the drawing, stuff like that. I want you to get in as close as you can to the drawing, so that's the biggest image for me in terms of being able to look at it and see what you've done. Okay, so read through. I think that's really all we need to cover right now. Read through it, look at those images, and think about what you're going to be drawing. Are you going to actually kind of draw something that exists? Even if you're doing that, you can alter it and change it and add stuff to it. So don't give me too basic of structure. Right? I want to see if you're doing your bedroom. Maybe you are very Spartan and all you have is a bed in there. Well, you're gonna have to put a chest of drawers in, put some nightstands, put some stuff on the wall, lean your bike up against the wall. Do some different things. I'm going to try to have several drawings that you can kind of help give you some guidance about that. You got a week, you have to kind of flesh it out, and it's basically a line drawing, so you might draw for a while and come back and add something else. If you draw something in and it blocks out one of the other lines or other images that you already put in there, that's fine. Just erase that a little bit. It doesn't have to disappear. We can have the ghost image of what was behind it as you deal with it, okay? But that's what we're gonna look for. Something that's sort of a believable space. You've convinced me that space can actually exist, rather, in the real world, right? It's not that it's a distorted image of that. So look at the images and do your best, see what you can do, okay?